do you see Canada moving more to the forefront of helium sourcing in the years ahead?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Um, Given our development over the last 18 months, I would say categorically yes. Canadian companies such as Imperial Helium are at the forefront of developing a Canadian helium industry. Historically, helium has been explored in Canada since the 1930s. Helium and hydrogen, as you know, are the two gases that we can use to lift off the ground without propulsion. So helium exploration took off literally in the 1930s after the British blew up a blimp in 1930. I think it was called R108. Efforts were then renewed just prior to World War II after Germany repeated the hydrogen experiment with the Hindenburg, and then of course continued with exploration through World War II. But from World War II onward, we've seen anywhere from 20 to 50% of the global raw helium supply by basically supplied out of the US through the Bureau of Land Management. That geographic focus supply, the vast majority of refined helium also came from the US. But with the cessation of sales by BLM, we've seen a major shift in the current global supply to other countries, including Russia and Qatar and Algeria. And they now count for, depending on what your source is, about 50% of the global supply. With this shift in supply to outside North America and countries far away with lower levels of regulation, we've seen exploitation strategies like Imperial Helium's and exploration strategies like a number of our competitors increase in Canada to feed into that US market as the shortfall in the removal of supply by the BLM. In addition, we've seen innovation in all sectors of the helium and production and refining, including with filters such as Evonik's. Separation techniques, understanding, and scaling of plants, both large and small to smaller volumes of feedstock. And I think more importantly, Rob, particularly with respect to the investment community, we've seen a desire for more rigor and understanding around resources. So we've been engaged by regulators in discussions about classification of helium resources to bring them in line with resource classification used in the hydrocarbon sector, i.e. prospective resources, contingent resources, and reserves. In addition, Canada has seen an increase in exports this past year with both Thor and North American helium coming on stream. And as we can see from press results, we've seen an increase in acreage positions amongst identified helium companies in Alberta and Saskatchewan, 2 new plants in the last 2 years. We've also seen an interest from provincial governments in supporting the development of the helium industry. Overall, I think we're seeing a growing helium industry moving forward and establishing its roots, which will begin to drive more Canadian industry. So yes, the Canadian helium industry is definitely growing.